So how's everyone doing? How's it going? Good, good. Glad to hear. I'm doing good, doing good. I don't really see much tonight, unfortunately. Anybody have anything they're looking at specifically? I don't think my Swiss yen is doing so hot. Yeah. I think the issue with this one was just the 20 or so days that it fell, and now we're trying to catch it, 16 days too late. You win some, you lose some. Is Pound Kiwi starting to decel at the top of that channel now? Oh, it is. Oh, it is. That's pretty interesting. What about Euro Kiwi looked interesting too. Euro Kiwi's kind of doing the same thing. Oh, Euro Kiwi's kind of doing an almost an APL. I like this 4-hour low test. It's kind of an inverse head and shoulder pattern now too, with a double bottom. Let's look at the higher time frames. Higher time frames is struggling against that weekly though. You'd essentially be trading right back into it after 3 rejections. That would be a little scary. I do like the price action though. That looks pretty. Don't like this upside resistance here, but this looks. What about Kiwi dollar? I know Kiwi dollar shot up like crazy. Yeah, this isn't very valid for today anymore. Now it's sitting at the daily. Ugh. What's up, Scott? Kiwi yen. Yeah, finally got that. That is a higher high. And it finally broke this 4-hour. It's a good spot. It's a good spot. I mean, this definitely means something. This has been so well respected, and now we finally got a higher high. Yeah. What's the daily look like? I'm not a fan of the chop. I need to wait one more day on this one. I want to see a nice break above, retest. This is definitely a break, but I want something a little more momentous, I guess. But yeah, something is definitely going on now that we finally broken that. Very interesting. Araliki, or what about pound yen? Mhm. Yeah, it looks like it could definitely something's cooking on the yen. I mean, with the yen being as bearish as it or as strong as it's been lately, I wouldn't want to jump into anything too early. But I think tomorrow could definitely present some sort of yen entry. How's Aussie yen look? Aussie kiwi. Hmm. All right, so let's let's start with the daily chart. Let's start at the top. Let's start with Aussie Swiss. So Aussie Swiss looks pretty interesting. It'll be nice once we get a break below this weekly EMA and this trend line here. The trend line isn't the greatest. It's kind of price action on this pair is a little tough to get good ranges on and good key levels on because it's kind of sporadic. It's kind of everywhere. But I would love to see a nice break of this level. I think once we break down below this weekly, we will get some nice momentum. Maybe retest these lows here. I like the monthly decel at the monthly 50 or monthly 40, whatever the hell I'm using. I like the hammer candle followed by the bearish. This looks good. This looks really good. The only problem with the daily here is it's so overextended now. These are some massive drops, so we're gonna have to see some sort of pullback. I hate the idea of trying to chase this, especially with the level it's sitting at now at the weekly EMA. But I definitely think this would be a good APL or some sort of pullback play. If we can at least get some sort of value, maybe we can draw a line in here. Oh wait, this is the 1 hour. Let's go the 4 hour. The 4 hour doesn't really even have any structure yet, unfortunately. So this one I'm kind of just sitting on my hands. It's got a great bearish breakdown, but there really isn't. This is a pretty good intraday level where price is decelerating too. So this could definitely present a pullback opportunity at this level. Maybe we'll get a pullback up and the 4 hour will come down by that time and we can get an APL or something like that. But I guess even at that point, I'd really need to see this level break because I wouldn't want to trade back into it. So maybe a break and retest of this level. But yeah, not too much happening on Aussie Swiss at the moment. Aussie yen's been falling forever. It's still pretty bearish. There's really no signs of slowdown at all. We're still making lower highs and lower lows. At this point, because it's been falling, I mean, this has been quite a substantial run down. It's kind of hard to tag in and go short at this point. So this one's kind of on the back burner too. Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD is such a difficult pair just because Aussie keeps going weak, but at the same time, CAD keeps going weak because oil keeps tanking. So it's kind of playing the weak against the weak, and we did get this nice double top on the weekly chart. Monthly has this great high test candle, and now it's looking like a potential hammer candle, but this is a nice weekly rejection here. It's hard to get any momentum off of this just because of how weak oil has been. And that has a direct effect on the Canadian currency. I didn't like the idea of this for an APL short just because we did get this nice lower low. We have this nice potential lower high. I saw this almost like if you flip these around, they'd be tweezer tops. And I like these hammer candles here. It shows that price tried to move. It didn't get rejected, but it definitely shows that there are some sellers in the market. But you definitely need to be patient and be proved that there is some actual bearish momentum coming in before you get short on this pair. But I think it has a good potential for an APL. I like this nice lower low. I like if you draw your fib in here. We're sitting right at the 618 retracement. So I think it's a good level. You can even draw a little support level here. So I think it definitely has the potential to continue down further. I'd like to look at US oil just to see if CAD could potentially be. So US oil fell off a cliff. Now we're sitting below this, and let's look at the higher time frames. The higher time frames are super tricky on this pair, just because there was so much potential here with this inverse head and shoulder pattern that didn't really lead to much of a bullish break. It was a slow grind instead of a huge break following this nice textbook play here. And now we have basically a break and retest of this trend line here with a weekly high test candle that led to this bearish engulfing. So it'll be interesting to see how this week closes with this. This could just continue down and continue down, and if that's the case, CAD is just going to go weak for quite some time. So we might not actually get an APL on Aussie CAD. It might just continue to go higher and higher, even with Aussie being weak. I think US oil falling as much as it has just takes CAD with it, and there's just no chance of a rebound. So this will be interesting. I still have an entry order placed on this one in case price does decide to retrace or continue down. But that's what I'm looking at on Aussie CAD. Let's look at Aussie Kiwi. Aussie Kiwi weekly chart had this nice breakout higher high. Price has come down. It's now sitting right at the weekly, which is right around the 50% retracement. At this point, I really wouldn't want to take any short entries trading into the weekly EMA. And price has been falling quite substantially that I wouldn't want to try to get in too early. I think this was a good short entry here that was missed. So trying to get in now would be I see no reason to try to trade through the weekly right now, and I definitely do not see any potential for a long position at this point in time. So this one's kind of on the back burner too, waiting for more things to develop. So look at Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar had a really nice day yesterday. This was a pretty good pullback here, high test candle at the, is this the daily 50? Oh yeah, at the daily 50. Nice bearish breakdown. The intraday, I guess I was looking at this with a bearish USD bias, looking for an APL long, but the intraday actually had a really good trend change, a really good lower low followed by a lower high that was rejecting both the H1 and the H4 EMAs. Pretty good price action here. This was yesterday's pivot as well. So that was yesterday's pivot as well. It was actually a pretty nice short entry. I guess I put too much weight on this trend line here, and I let the US dollar index kind of dictate where my bias was. But this was a really good short position that I was not paying attention to. Now price is sitting at this key 75 level. I definitely would not want to trade through that. If we get a nice breakdown below, any sort of retest, any sort of retrace at all, I think would be a safe short, but definitely wait for that 75 level to break because it's a pretty good level here. CAD yen. CAD yen is struggling. This one's, we're down here in the 618. I don't think this will. I don't think it has a chance of bottoming out, to be honest. Even though it looks like the yen pairs could potentially be pulling back, I think the U.S. oil will continue to force this down. I don't see any sort of entries on this pair at this point. Maybe drawing a level in here. And waiting for price to come back down and retest and have the 4 hour come in. That could be something, but at this point, it's kind of like, I feel this is kind of like the Swiss yen move, is that it's already 20 plus days into this downside run, and it's a little scary trying to get in at this point. It definitely needs some sort of pullback to value before you can get in my opinion. CAD Swiss is just stuck in this. The monthly chart illustrates this pretty well of just how choppy this pair is. It has no ability to move past this 77 level. It's definitely stuck in this range here. Weekly chart looked like it was potentially getting bullish, forming this higher low. This wasn't a higher high yet, but this could have been a third higher low. But there was no momentum behind it, and we got this hammer candle followed by a high test candle rejecting the 618 retracement and a huge bearish breakdown. At this point, we're kind of at the bottom of this monthly zone here, and I wouldn't want to trade into that either. So this pair needs to do something. It needs to continue breaking out to the downside or break up to the upside. But at this point, I don't really see much going on. This is just kind of stuck in Chop City here. Euro Aussie. So I was definitely bearish on Euro Aussie. I thought there was going to be a nice bearish breakdown below this 37.2 level. I thought we were going to have a nice continuation to the downside. But that did not happen. This has continued to, like Dimitri said, it likes to follow this opposite pattern here of a week up, a week down, a week up, a week down, a week up, a week down, and now we got this week up, and this week up is kind of here that we are continuing on with the bullish momentum. it would be really nice to get a retrace down to this level to retest the trend line and this support zone here. I think any sort of pullback to this level would be huge. You do have the weekly 50 in the way. That could definitely provide some potential upside resistance, but I think this has a lot of potential now that we've finally broken up. This head and shoulder pattern was immediately rejected. There are a lot of buyers in the market to reverse that. So I'll be looking for a pullback. Hopefully we'll get something maybe the end of the week, maybe beginning next week. It'll be interesting to see what happens. This could just be a false break and price could continue to tank back down. We are still sitting at these recent highs. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I would really like to see this continue up, form a higher high, and then come back down to retest. That would give me some more confirmation that this is continuing. For it to stall out at this level wouldn't be the best unless it came down and we got a nice low test on the daily. Something very convincing that this would continue up if we don't get a higher high. But I definitely see some upside potential on this pair. It's just a few days away. Let's look at EuroCAD. So EuroCAD is just exploding to the upside. EuroCAD came down and formed this double bottom, and then we got this breakout. It's still considered a lower high, but now we have a confirmed higher low, and now we've broken way up above, and this just coincides with the overall CAD weakness. This was actually a really nice daily setup that I didn't even consider because I put too much weight on this daily moving average here. But look how great the price action was. I mean, we had tweezers at the 618 retracement. That's, in hindsight, it seems pretty foolish to discount a trade like that just because of a moving average. But it happens. Especially when you can see, if you could have predicted U.S. oil falling off a cliff, kind of like we did earlier last week when we were talking about this initial entry here, once we got this nice rejection of the trend line, and we started to get this breakdown here once this started to fall. That was kind of the indication that those tweezers, I'm pretty sure, let's take a look. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days ago, 6, 7 days ago. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you were looking for it, you could have pieced it together and potentially given yourself enough confidence to take this long. Did anybody take this long? Was anybody considering taking this long? This lower low here, I mean, this was a nice trend change. Lower low, lower high, breakdown, lower low. But this price action right here is really, really good. This is I mean, it's the perfect 618 retracement. It was a tough one. It shouldn't have been that tough. There's, like I said, too much weight, too much emphasis on this daily here. But definitely a lesson learned when price action is forming like this, and there's definitely some upside resistance here too. It was kind of difficult, but I think at this point, any sort of pullback on this, if we get a pullback on this 4-hour chart is crazy right now. Yeah. So EuroCAD has, yeah, you'd have to trade back into the daily after the tweezers, but I mean, if you get daily tweezers at a 618 after you had this breakout higher high, should a, a daily moving average really prevent you from trading this? I mean, if you just go out simply off a price action, nice double bottom, breakout higher high, higher low, tweezer bottoms at the 618, this looks fantastic. It feels very limiting to not take trades because this is kind of in your way. And I guess that's just where personal discretion comes in. But I think it's definitely a good lesson, definitely something to keep on your mind. That if the price action looks that great, maybe it's worth it to take the chance. Yeah, it's definitely a lower low. I mean, lower low, lower high, lower low. This definitely is a bearish trend change. What's up, Maddie? So I like this for long positions. It just needs to pull back. This 4 hour is crazy overextended. Let's take a look at Euro Pound. Euro Pound looked like it could potentially pull back. If we get a retest up to this, the backside of this trend line here, and the daily EMA, I think that would be a great shorting opportunity. I wouldn't want to play the break though, just because price seems to stall out at this level all the time. Price could just continue to tank and go lower, but I wouldn't want to trade through this level now, just because it's been so well respected. The weekly chart is finally showing a breakdown, but we're still at the bottom of this level. I think once this level drops, we should get a significant move to the downside. But it seems like Euro is powering up a bit, and it seems like whenever Euro powers up, Pound has been powering up also, and that's kind of why we've been stuck in this sort of triangle pattern here. Is that they're just going back and forth. So I really need to see a break of this level. I'm definitely not interested in long positions at this point, just because we've finally broken out of this triangle. So again, this is another pair. Gonna sit on the sidelines for a little bit and see what happens. Euro yen. The week hasn't closed yet, but this is looking like there's potentially some deceleration happening on the weekly chart. Daily chart is now 4 days into a bullish pullback. I think it's only a pullback at this point. It would be awesome to get a pullback to this level here, this 118.3 level, right when the daily comes down, form a new lower high potentially at this point. I think that would be a really nice shorting opportunity. Let's look at the intraday here. So I was actually looking at this for potential APL also, but I didn't want to take two APLs on yen pairs when they've both been in these super overextended runs. I think I'm a week too late on on catching the APLs on this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, to see if we get a pullback to this level here. Taking a long position on this, would be a little difficult at this point. We do have this nice breakout. If we get we need some sort of indication of a higher low. It would be nice to get a pullback here, but then we'd have to fight our way above the 4 hour again. So basically just sitting until we get a confirmed higher low, maybe potentially take a long position, a quick one just up to this level here. But again, this is kind of a sit on your hands and wait. Euro Kiwi. So Euro Kiwi's struggling at this weekly level here. I don't. Price has been kind of choppy, and now we finally started to reject the daily and start to move back up. This was a nice breakout higher high, and now it looks like the trend could potentially resume to the upside. It'll be interesting to see if this forms an inverted head and shoulder pattern and we do get a nice bullish move off of this. If we get a bullish move off of this and we break these previous highs here and get a higher high, any sort of pullback, I'll be looking for a long position. But until then, I need to see a breakout. I need to see at least a break of these levels here. I want to see a higher high. I want to see price really show its hand. I like that this is a daily EMA rejection, and there's definitely some bullish momentum there, but need a little more confirmation. So euro dollar. So euro dollar is kind of forming this triple bottom ish, with last week ended as an inverted hammer. And it looks like we're potentially getting some bullish momentum stepping in. The daily chart is finally broken back up above the daily here. I could see this definitely going along today, just off of this like break and retest here. It wasn't enough of a pullback to really get me interested. I'm kind of unsure on this pair at this point, just because one week it seems bearish, and the next week it seems bullish. We're definitely stuck at the bottoms here. We're stuck at the bottoms of this weekly range. So I definitely see the potential for some sort of bullish breakout. And I know the monthly, we're at this like long-term monthly trend line that goes back. So there's definitely the potential for some bullish momentum here. I would like to see a break. If we get a break, I just need more on this. I don't have enough for a really good bias on this. I like that we're making. I mean, this is a higher high. This is a higher low. This is a higher low. So we are trending upwards. But at this point, it's just not enough. It's not convincing enough. I mean, this is a nice breakout above, but it seems like it's kind of just all over the place. Pound Aussie. So Pound Aussie's finally played out after this monthly double bottom. We finally got the major breakout here. Now price is decelerating at the weekly EMA. Well, I shouldn't say that. Price is not decelerating at the weekly EMA. Price is still very much bullish. And we are continuing to move up. Trying to catch this is extremely tough. I wouldn't even attempt to put a position on until we get some sort of pullback on this. So once we got this confirmation on the weekly chart with this bullish higher high, this could have been your first APL. This could have been your second APL, and you could have potentially caught both moves. But you definitely had to be looking for them. I did take this APL, and it actually closed out. And now, in hindsight, I wish I would have left it running just because the weekly was so great. I mean, this weekly was just the weekly and the monthly time frames were so overdue for a pullback after this Brexit move. So there's definitely some lost opportunity there. I think these could have been some really good positions. But at this point, I don't really see much of anything. Pound Swiss. Pound Swiss looked pretty interesting earlier. So the intraday on this was one of the few pound pairs that actually gave somewhat of a pullback. At least this gave a low test candle at the H1 EMA. And I had this on the watch, looking for a nice clean 5-minute break to take this to the upside. But it looks like it's already moved now. Yeah, I feel like I've kind of missed the boat on this one. This nice, any sort of entry down here would have been more ideal than taking it up there. I mean, there's still definitely potential to move. I mean, it's really bullish, incredibly bullish. This is a nice 4-hour low test with some bullish continuation. It definitely has potential, but at this point, with this, I definitely don't want to. I don't want to take this as like a FOMO trade. I mean, I missed out on this, and I feel like trying to get in here and take it to the recent highs or take it even further kind of feels like a FOMO trade. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on, but I guess you just have to be comfortable with it, and it has to really resonate with you to commit to that position. But we do have this nice break out of this triangle, this asymmetrical triangle that we've been stuck in for so long. It would be nice to get a deeper pullback, but with these pound pairs, sometimes we don't, and sometimes they just run. So let's pound yen. Pound yen looks like it was a bear trap. I could definitely see this continuing higher. This one might actually have the most potential just because of the low test or the high test that formed. I think if the buyers step in and you get a break of the previous highs here, I think there's a lot of stops up here from short positions. And I think that could potentially move this quite higher. But I need to pull back. This isn't enough. If it needs to run up a couple more days before it gives a pullback, that's fine with me. But at this point, I don't really want to chase it. Yeah, I agree. Deeper pullback is definitely needed. Pound Kiwi. So Pound Kiwi's getting really interesting. So now it's decelerating at this weekly EMA, and it's kind of interesting that as soon as price hit this weekly EMA, the Kiwi news came in and forced this down immediately. So that's kind of coincidental. We're still bullish, and now we have this higher high is the weekly confirmation that we are now in a weekly trend change, a weekly bullish trend change. Yes, man. Yeah. Oh no, it's recording.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry. That's okay. Try and put the content into your website.
Can you use the big computer?
Yeah, we'll log in.
It might. Yeah, so pound Kiwi definitely has this weekly bullish trend change going on now. trying to get in on this is super tricky. Tons of APLs along the way, stuck in this channel here. This looks really interesting that it's now decelerated at the top side of this channel. We have this bullish inside bar showing deceleration. But it's tricky. It is definitely tricky. I mean, there was some definite downside momentum here. I honestly wouldn't feel safe in taking a long position on this. I definitely see that there could be potential there, but at the same time, you're trading right into the weekly. This was quite a bearish breakdown. It's not enough for me. In theory, it looks great, but I don't feel confident in actually committing to a position on this. Yeah, not really a fan. Pound dollar might be the best one, to be honest. Actually, I take that back. Pound CAD is probably the best one. But this one's very similar to all the other pound pairs. It's got this little pullback here, and it's not really enough to convince me that this is going to continue much higher than this, whatever this was, 300 pip move or whatever. These pound pairs are just they're after that move. I don't feel confident taking any long positions until we get some sort of pullback to value. Pound CAD, this one's gonna go to the moon. So Pound CAD has this nice deceleration, kind of a tweezer bottom. Matt showed me a picture yesterday that Pound CAD actually has quarterly tweezer bottoms. It looks pretty awesome. But this one has a ton of potential. This one looks like it's going to go all the way up and retest this level at 78.5. This is the one I feel the most confident with. This one seems, I don't think there's anything to slow this down. But with that said, I don't know how to get in at this point. I would say it was a definite huge lack of foresight on my behalf in taking those APLs and capping them to 2% when the monthly chart was that good. That was a very, very limiting thing to do. I mean, we couldn't have anticipated the move would be this dramatic, but with the higher time frames being as good as they were, showing so much deceleration, we finally got a breakout out of all of this chop. With two good APL entries, I really wish I would have kept the higher time frames in my mind when looking at this, but they were still good trades. Good trades. I mean, they went sideways for quite some time, but they ended up playing out pretty well. So definitely keep in mind the higher time frames. If the higher time frames are looking this good, definitely try to stay in for as long as you can. Definitely try to, if you need to, keep the monthly chart. Don't look at the intraday, just look at the monthly chart. But yeah, I think Pound CAD, like I said, maybe a pullback to the 1 hour, and you could try to get a long position on this. I don't know. I think this thing, I don't see this thing stopping. I think this thing is really going to take off. So we'll have to see how the next days progress, see if it even pulls back at all. But this was definitely a good one. Kiwi yen. So Kiwi yen, we talked about this briefly. Connor noticed that it's finally broken to the upside of this very, very, very well respected 4 hour EMA. So this is indicating that something could potentially be happening. We do have these higher lows, so we are slowly changing trend here with these higher lows, and this could potentially be a higher high. I would like to see a much bigger breakout, come back down, retest the 4 hour. Then I would be happy taking this long. Maybe take it up to these levels here and maybe the daily. So that could definitely be a potential for tomorrow. Hopefully we can get a continuation up further. I mean, this could technically be an APL short, but this run is so overextended, super overextended. So I wouldn't want to. I kind of learned my lesson on getting in too early or getting in too late. So hopefully we'll get a breakout higher high, come back down, retest the 4 hour, and take it up. Oh, good, good, good to hear, Dimitri. So we can actually talk. So this was something we noticed this morning. This could potentially be a strategy. It needs to be more. It needs to be back tested, and but with these kind of positions, it's kind of tough to get entries. But we noticed that once price starts to pull back, and it doesn't really have the 4 hour there to tell you that it's rejecting it. That if you draw a level in and you just wait and see what happens, and if price does pull back to that level again and start to decelerate, and the 4 hour is finally caught up to it, that's a pretty good indication that you can take this. That's your confirmation that you can actually enter the trade. But it seems like it kind of gives these false positives, and then you just have to draw your level in and wait for price to come up. And this was a good potential short position in my opinion. The only downside was that this was an overextended run to the downside. So Dimitri did enter, I think, right before this bearish engulfing happened, and he wrote it down and very smartly paid attention to this 4 hour low test that was developing and moved his stop to break even. That was very good management. Definitely, definitely good to pay attention when price gives you these 4 hour high test candles or low test candles, just to keep you on your toes. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Maybe something for tomorrow. Let's take a look at New Zealand Swiss. New Zealand Swiss is just chopping. It is chop city here. We've been stuck in this blue box for weeks, and I don't want to do anything with this until we get a break out of this blue box. So that's what's going on with Kiwi Swiss. Kiwi CAD. So Kiwi CAD is at these quad tops, quintuple tops, whatever you want to call it. Price has definitely been stalling out at this 96-ish level. And we got a breakdown, which looked like a lower low. Price moved back up, formed a lower high, started to break down again, and then we got a low test candle last week. The daily chart actually looked really well. It had this nice trend line here, and we got a very clean break after that daily low test. It didn't really give too much indication on the intraday chart. I was waiting for some sort of break of this and potentially a retest. I was expecting a much a much taller, higher high here. This was kind of just, this looked more like chop to me than an actual breakout and retest. So I was definitely having this on the radar just because of the low test that developed, but it didn't really give much of an entry unless you had like a static entry here as to take as price broke this trend line here. But the daily looked really good, and you can see, or sorry, not the daily, the weekly. The weekly looked really good with this low test here, and you can see the bullish momentum really stepped in. We are still kind of in this range here, but I would be okay with taking it up to the previous highs if we get a nice pullback to value. Maybe we can get some sort of pullback down here, and at this point the 4 hour will catch up, and maybe we can take it to the upside. Something like that would be really nice, and it coincides with the continued CAD weakness. So this one has some potential, but we definitely need to pull back to value to take advantage. Kiwi dollar. Kiwi dollar I don't want to touch right now. We got this nice breakdown, this nice rejection of the daily, and it was immediately reversed. So I'm going to need to see a breakout, higher high, come back down, retest. Maybe we'll get a break and retest of the daily. Maybe the 4 hour will catch up by then. At this point, I had my short bias immediately reversed to the long side, so I'm going to need to see more confirmation before I commit to any sort of long position on this. That we definitely have to get a clean break above the daily. Is it not loud enough, Matt? I know that was kind of an issue last time, was that the volume wasn't really. I'll try to speak a little clearer. I do tend to mumble. I still have the dripping tap. Yeah. I still have the noisy mouse. So Kiwi dollar I'm not interested in until we get something. I don't like it. I don't like where price is currently sitting. I don't like how we're at the daily. I don't like how we're at the previous highs. It's not interesting to me at all. Dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, we're still stuck in this, trying to break these highs here. Any sort of break, a clean like weekly break and retest of this level would be a really nice long opportunity. This thing's kind of been a mess. It finally broke out of this consolidation, broke up, and then immediately broke down, forming a lower low, then immediately broke back up to form a higher high. So this one I'm not really interested in. There was some nice bullish momentum yesterday, but the intraday didn't really pull back at all. This one's kind of overdue for a pullback. But I don't want to commit to a position until we get a clean break of this level, just because it's been rejected so many times. I don't want to falsely enter on this, especially with the kind of the sideways price action lately. Dollar Suisse. So, Dollar Swiss is stalling at the 1025 level. It's kind of a double top. And now we've started to break down, form a lower high. Now we have a lower low, we've got another lower high, and now we're sitting right at this weekly again, which was respected there. It was immediately rejected there. So taking a short position on this is a little scary, just because of these last two rejections were both weekly rejections. I really like how prices broken down here. I think a pullback to retest this level, this kind of zone here, and the daily. This also coincides with the 4 hour EMAs right there. It's the 618 retracement. I think a pullback to value, and just if you want to take a quick short down to retest these lows here and not try to trade through the weekly, I think that would be a fantastic trade. It's still a 2% trade if you can get a pullback to value at this level. But I think this is a really good value zone. The US 30, what is that, Scott? I'll take a peek in just a minute. But yeah, I really like this. I think this has a lot of good potential to the downside, assuming we can get a pullback to value. Dollar yen. Dollar yen, this is the third day of sideways price action. It's decelerating. I definitely wouldn't call it bullish by any means. It's still failing to do much of anything but go sideways. Um, Maybe a potential break above, retest of the 4 hour for a quick move up to retest this previous support. Could be something in the next day or two. But as of this point, it's just 3 days in a row of chopping sideways and no real. All we have at this point is deceleration. We don't have any sort of indication of trend change. So yeah, things are kind of boring right now. Let's look at what is it? Is it just US 30, Scott? Government bonds. Which one do I click on, Scott? Is it just US 30 or is it US 30 USD? Bottom. All right. There really isn't much structure up at the highs here. Huh? Mm-hmm. Looking at like a potential break and retest to take short. Maybe take down there somewhere. Oh, I thought I had that on here. The JP. Because I don't. Let's take a look. JP. What is it? JPY or JPX JPY? Oh, this looks nice. That looks like a nice, little taller, but it's definitely a lower high high with like a triple tweezer top. Nice bearish confirmation on the monthly. Weekly is stalling. I think this was a nice entry. That was a real nice entry. Nice deceleration inside bar. Hammer candle. It is starting to decelerate here, but this monthly looks. I wouldn't even worry about the weekly, to be honest. With this monthly looking the way it is, I think this is just going to collapse. So does this reflect yen strength? So if this starts to fall, does that mean the yen is going to start getting weak? Or so if it starts falling, then JPY. If this falls, then yen will strengthen. Okay. Interesting. So then what you're saying is that this potential weekly decel could start. That's what's causing this potential bullish move on the yen pairs, or at least the retracement. Got it. Got it. Makes sense. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Very interesting. I will have to do a little reading on this tomorrow so I can familiarize myself with it. This one looks a lot like dollar yen, where it's kind of just been chopping sideways, stuck in this little range, forming a little triple top here. Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. Definitely interesting. But it looks like yen is going to strengthen. This monthly is very telling. What you got, Dimitri? Swiss yen is still alive, just barely. Dollar peso. Okay, so this one was super tough, and these type of plays I don't really. This is kind of like the Aussie dollar and the Kiwi dollar I took last week. I don't like to post these trades too much, just because they're more of an intuition play of it. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. It just pieces got put together in my head, and I kind of started looking around, I think I explained this to someone earlier this morning. I thought I did, or maybe I just had the conversation in my head. But so with dollar Mexican peso, let's go back a little. So yesterday I was looking for this APL and Aussie dollar. So I was looking for this APL and Aussie dollar, and when price started to really start to fall, I had to question myself and say, "Ooh, was your bearish bias on USD? Is that what prevented you from seeing this as a short play?" And then it got me looking at my dollar Swedish krona position, that APL that was still open. And when I started looking at that, I noticed that price was starting to decelerate here, right at the daily EMA, and this was it kind of decelerated a little bit here and rejected, and now we started to decelerate again at this candle here. So once this candle closed, I decided to just shut the position down and take profit. It could continue to the downside, but at this point it seemed too risky because the daily was being respected, at least respected in the sense that it was decelerating. And once I saw that, my bias started to get shifted with the confirmation in Aussie going short. It could have just been Aussie weakness, but this started to change my bias that maybe dollar is potentially going bullish, and that just led me to scouring the daily charts. I think I've said this a few times that I like to look at the more exotic dollar pairs, as they kind of give a better indication of dollar strength sometimes when you can't really get a good gauge on it. And this looked really good. This deceleration here, this inside bar kind of inverse head and shoulder or inverted hammer, followed by this nice bear or bullish candle, and I like the wedge that was forming. We started to get this. I noticed this first trend line here, and once I saw this wedge bottom started to form here, to be honest, I just took it. Once I saw this bottom develop, I put a static entry right here, and I went to bed. And I woke up in the morning and was like, awesome, it played out. This was strictly based on just intuition, just a good feeling that USD could go bullish. And if you look at the weekly chart on dollar peso, it is just so overextended. It has just been running to the downside for quite some time. So this little bit of decel here, it was enough, and I really liked the wedge pattern that developed. I liked that we kind of got a bottom here, and it was just an entry order that was placed and got triggered. I made sure to keep the stops below the 1 hour and the 4 hour, just to keep myself safe. But I mean, there wasn't really any confirmation of higher highs at that point. I mean, this right here was still, I guess you could technically call it a higher high, but I mean, it's not enough to really convince you of anything. But it was slowly starting to break this trend line. And I thought, if price does break this trend line, there is good potential that it could go to the upside, just because it's been so overextended to the downside. And we are starting to finally show some deceleration at this level. So that's how I ended up taking that trade. I don't even it's I would call this kind of like Dimitri's 4 hour high test on pound New Zealand he took. I think it's just one of those trades where when you feel like you're really immersed in the price action and you kind of can feel like the lifeblood of the market market, which comes very, very rarely. But I think that's kind of what this was. Is that I saw things starting to develop, and this one was the one that convinced me that there was potential. Not often. I don't often leave static entries on there. This one just looked really good. I really like the daily on it. I really like the 4 hour wedge here. Maybe once a week if a position looks good and I'm getting too tired to stay up and watch it. This is more, to be honest, this is more laziness than anything. I put the entry there because I wanted to go to sleep. Um, how did I customize this toolbox at the top center? This right here. So just go over to any tool that you want to select. So say the trend line tool. Just click the star, and if you click the star, it'll start adding things to your toolbox. You just move it. Correlation with dollar yen. Very interesting, Matt. Very interesting. Huh. Thanks for posting that. Yeah, so that's all I've really got for tonight. Do we look at gold? How's gold doing? Gold does look like it's breaking out a little bit. Well, we're back above the monthly. We're above the weekly. Hmm. Yeah, I don't really see much on gold right now. It could potentially pull back. Maybe it'll pull back to value, break and retest at this level. I could see that. All right, guys, I'm gonna take a breather real quick. I'll be right back. Holy shit, I'm sweating.
Why are you so
How hot is it in here?
I don't know, probably not.
The door's closed.
What if it says it was working at Joe's on my computer too? Because I have your login card in. It's like, it just does this funky thing where like, you think it's gonna log in and then it like refreshes the login page.
Oh, it just does that shit.
So it's not like an error, it's just not accepting it. It's weird. So I'll figure out something about that. Oh, you are? Finish up.
Matt and Dimitri were talking in the chat, so I didn't want to like, all right guys, we're done. While they're like conversing. So I was like, grabbing the table real quick. I wasn't finished talking to them. I was like, all right, man, yeah, and we've gone over weird shit.
Already.
We've gone over JPX 335, JP 225, the US 30.
I'm super excited.
For what?
All your website content that I
Why? Is it good?
figured out. Well, I'm happy. I'm excited about it. I don't know if you will be, but I want to kind of like put together the finished product on the actual website and see how you like it.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure on me, I feel like.
Huh?
What if there's stuff I want to change?
You can change it. You can totally change it.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't feel bad. I wanted to get like an organized start, and that I'm excited that it's like an organized start. You can totally change some of the phrasing. I'm sure you won't like some of it,
Sweet.
but it's at least a good start. I feel like it's a good organized start
Oh,
to
yeah.
kind of convey your message.
Yeah, there's like, if it's up there, at least I can like
Yeah.
edit little things that I.
That's what I'm thinking. Like you can just like change phrasing or something like that, but at least like
There.
the organization of it and the general idea is really there.
Sweet.
Oh, tomorrow. I'm gonna go brush my teeth and get the sap. I'll see you in a minute.
Okay. All right, guys. We got anything else we wanna cover? We wanna go over? Unfortunately, there isn't too much. There isn't too much right now. Did anybody catch the oil move? Any part of the oil move? Yes, it did. It collapsed. I'm gonna have to use one of you Aussie guys. You're gonna have to give me your mailing address so that I can sign up for an account in Australia and trade oil and gold with you guys. Yeah, I saw that, Connor. That was nothing but bad luck. That was such a solid entry too. You literally got stopped out like right there. That was yeah. Hey, that was a good trade gone bad. That was a great trade. That was just a little too tight. A little too tight. Because you had your stop right above the tweezers, right? And yeah, that was just bad luck. That was just bad luck. That was catch the next one. Definitely catch the next one. Next one we'll just do a little higher just for protection. Um, that one's tricky. That one's. I don't have a real hard and fast rule for that. Especially if you're taking it like at the top of a move. If you have good structure. So on this one, the 1 hour chart, 6 1. Okay, the 618 would have definitely would have. As a general rule, I don't like to do any stops tighter than 20 pips. If it's tighter than 20 pips, I don't really feel comfortable. Unless you have like this huge 4 hour tweezer or something like that. But usually I like to go above the 618 unless the move is so big that you can't get a decent risk reward on it. And I guess it depends a lot on what other kind of structure you have there. So you have this line here. Let me get back to you on that. Let me as I look through stuff the next couple of days, I'm gonna write myself a note right now. Where's my So I'll actually look over that in the morning and find some examples and see if I can explain it better on why I would choose different stop placements for different kind of criteria. For the most part, I like to do the 618. Are you? Yeah, I'll get back to you on that. I'll give you a much better answer than I can give you right now. Are you gonna start following Swiss yet? I'm gonna wake up in the morning and this is gonna be in profit. I can feel it. That's the kind of confidence you gotta have. What was the other APL Aussie Cat? So Aussie Cat could potentially play out too. I still have this as a static order. I might need to adjust it because the market has movement. But I still have this as a static order on Aussie CAD. I still have Swiss Yen open. But that's all I got. And that's all I got for tonight. Well, hopefully tomorrow will bring some better opportunities. Maybe if something really interesting develops, something really solid develops, maybe we can do a quick webinar or something. Unfortunately, there's just not too much tonight. Thanks, man. You too. I'll see you guys in the morning. Hopefully, we'll get some good stuff. My pleasure. Thanks for attending. Thanks, guys.